Hi. So you can call me Carney, you can call me Vessel, you can call me Junkivore. It doesn't really matter. But this is a speed paint that I've been calling Love Ball Buddies. And at first it was just going to be Quagsire, Clodsire, and their respective Woopers. You can see the references I have in the back. All of that is official Pokemon renders or art. Uh, I ended up going off script a little bit. And I kind of just got inspired by that, like, :3 expression that these two really have. Um, and mainly because I just wasn't in love with how these Woopers were coming out. I really liked how Quagsire looked. And once I got this shape and angle for the Clodsire, that expression was what made me think, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a different idea. I'm just going to make it a silly little thing, and I'm going to include Ditto. Because I do love Ditto. I would put him in a love ball if I caught him in real life. And then I still was thinking about including Woopers, but I don't know. I just wasn't loving how it comes out. Then I moved them around a little bit, changed the composition, and I thought this looked pretty balanced. Like they're all hanging out, leaning on each other. And then I filled it in. Um, Pretty much all of the pieces that I'm probably going to post are using this dry acrylic sponge. I'm very fond of it. I kind of struggled with the sketches and the line art in this one. Um, at a certain point, I do get it to a level that I like and I kind of refine it. But you know, I just struggled with this. The Pokemon style is kind of hard for me to draw in. I don't draw it a lot, despite my love. I tend to draw the same 2 or 3 Pokemon. So I'm pretty good at Guzzlord. I can draw a Klefki and a Tandemaus pretty good. Pikachu I love, and some of my other favorites. I don't think I've ever drawn Quagsire before, even though I love him. This was my first time drawing all 3. So I kind of just went over that sketch a couple times and changed it up a couple times. Um, I think I went over the sketch maybe 4 times. The fourth time was the final line art. And these expressions were surprisingly difficult for me. Um, I don't know why. You would think they're pretty simple. That's what I thought going into it. And then doing it, I was like, shit, man, I don't like this. So I redid it a couple times. And then I used the circle tool. I just sized it up to do the button pattern. That was pretty simple. And then I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this heart and get it symmetrical. And then I figured out there's actually a particle brush. I think it's a fire alpaca brush. It might not be. It might be one I made. But I think it's a fire alpaca brush. And it's a particle scatter, but I ended up making it really big, and just doing one big heart in the center. And I kind of traced that simple shape. Um, and then I was able to go from there. Um, yeah, I love sizing things down and transform to like tooling them. That wasn't gonna work, so I just did the inner line by hand. Um, and this is pretty much the final line art for the Pokeball. But I think I still go over the boys one more time. And I can't remember how long this took. I don't know where the raw footage for this is. I want to say it took about the same amount of time as some of the other projects I've worked on. Usually, I try and stick to about 2 hours, 2.5 hours for things that I'm doing digitally. I get home from work and then I start drawing. I record it all and then sometimes I edit it right after, but that's usually a bad idea because then I'm up until like 4 or 5 in the morning. But it's okay because I don't work until later in the day. And do I know what the love ball does in game? No, because I don't really particularly care what items do. And I forget pretty quickly specific, like statistics for what I think this does. I think it raises your friendship. So if you catch something in a love ball, your friendship will, you know, go up faster. I just use them because they're cute. Same thing with the heal ball. I just like using the pink Pokeballs, and I like using the Premier balls. I don't really care if they're better or not than the other balls. Um, because I don't know, I just play the games the way I would play them when I was younger, which is to say, I play um, with reckless abandon. um, and I do a lot of things that way. That's kind of how this channel is going. I really only started it because I was kind of having art block, and I just wanted something new to learn. I know a little bit about frame by frame animation. You could do that on Fire Alpaca a little bit, but I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. So I thought, why don't I get into video editing? I'll record something stupid and then I'll throw it up on a YouTube channel and that'll be that. And I actually really like pretty the pretty much basics of video editing. I like reductive editing, cutting out all of the silence and just the pauses. There's a lot of me pausing in all of my art. Um, there's one big piece I'm working on where it's a self-portrait of me surrounded by a lot of some of the Pokemon are popular, some of the Pokemon aren't. But kind of the theme is undesirable or things that haven't always been super loved by the community at large. Um, I mean, Guzzlord is there, and everyone loves Guzzlord, and everyone loves Mimikyu these days. But some of them are either trash themed, like Trubbish, or they're objects, like Klefki, or they're super simple Pokemon that sometimes get hate, like Tandemouse, for being too plain. I didn't include every Pokemon that I think fits into those kinds of things in the other piece that I'm talking about. Just because there's so many that I love, but it'll take a long time. I've already spent, I don't know, probably about 3 hours on that piece. So now I'm trying to keep them a little bit shorter, a little bit more simple, do a little bit more simple rendering. And this one was super fun. I didn't plan to have Ditto in this piece, but then once I got to rendering, I was like, okay, this is actually pretty interesting. Let me make him a little bit gelatinous in comparison to these other guys, to these other boys. And I ended up actually rendering all three of these different technically. So Quagsire has something a little bit closer to, um, the Pokemon art style for the key art. On at least the highlights, the shadows I copped out a little bit, and just did kind of like an airbrush and a little bit of that same rendering, acrylic sponge brushed out. Ditto, same thing, soft acrylic sponge brushed out. But I kind of brought the background colors in a little bit just to make him look a little bit gelatinous. And then later on, I'll even do a little bit of, purple shadow on the other two boys. And see here I'm doing a little bit of shadow, I wasn't sure what color to do, so I just did a kind of muted, darker blue. Um, and then I airbrushed a little bit on his booty cheeks, and yeah, brushed it out. I can't remember. I think I changed the settings yet to multiply, just so it would be a little bit less harsh of a shadow. And then I moved on to Clodsire. I really wasn't sure what to do for these brown tones. I'm so bad at neutral colors, specifically browns. I just really struggle with getting them like either they're too green or they're too orange or whatever. And I just don't like the way they look. But I ended up liking him. Um, yeah, and so I just kind of instead of doing that same like round highlight, I kind of just did it on the edges. And then I really eyeballed these. I don't think I color picked any colors from at least him. I know I did with the Love Ball and maybe that original Quagsire blue. But the brown and I think the purple too were just guesses for what the right color was. And then I'm just doing a shadow for the Ditto. I set it to multiply and erased it a little bit. Did a soft light layer, erased it a little bit more. Some highlights and a soft light with that purple. And then I went around and I added a white border. I just did that, select opacity and then expanded by, I think, like 10 or 20 so that I could just roughly draw a white outline to bring them up from the background. And this will probably end up being a sticker just for personal use. I don't really sell, uh, Pokemon stickers and stuff just because of copyright. But they're pretty easy to print out on a home printer and just, you know, have on your stuff. So, yeah, I think it came out cute. Thanks for watching.